A significant chapter in the history of Chinese tea is the Tang Dynasty, largely due to the influence of Lu Yu's classic of tea, which elevated the practice of tea drinking. This period is often regarded as a pinnacle of cultural and artistic achievement, making it understandable that Lu Yu's work gained great popularity during this era. Classic of Tea, the earliest known book on tea, discusses topics like tea cultivation, processing, appreciation, brewing techniques, and the proper use of tea sets. It is considered a remarkable work that offers deep insights into the tea-drinking customs of the Chinese population. So, what qualifies Lu Yu to write on this subject? Was he a tea farmer? In fact, Lu Yu was an orphan raised in a monastery by monk Zhiji, the abbot of Longai Temple. However, he did not wish to become a monk himself and was devoted to Confucian principles. He worked as a servant at the temple and dedicated himself to studying the I Ching. While working at the monastery, Lu Yu became well acquainted with tea, since it was a regular part of the monks' daily lives. The practice of tea drinking and cultivation became important for their meditation, especially as Buddhism was embraced as a state religion during the Tang Dynasty. To cater to the monks' needs for tea, many temples established their own tea gardens. The Tang era saw a flourishing of Buddhism in China, with over 3,000 monasteries established. The legendary tale of the Monkey King is based on the actual pilgrimage of Xuanzang, a Tang Dynasty Buddhist monk who spent 16 years in India, gathering and translating over 600 Sanskrit Buddhist texts. Tea and Buddhism continued to evolve together until the Song Dynasty, marking over 500 years of strong cultural development. In 1191, Eisai, a Japanese Buddhist monk who had studied in China, brought tea seeds and the methods for tea preparation back to Japan, where they were cultivated in Kyoto and eventually transformed into matcha. It's important to note that in ancient China, only monks, members of the imperial court, and respected scholars had access to tea. This marked the transition of tea from a medicinal beverage to a daily cultural drink. The way we brew tea today is quite different from the practices during the Tang Dynasty, as outlined in the Classic of Tea. After the tea leaves are picked, they go through several steps: steaming, crushing, pressing, roasting, threading, and sealing, resulting in a finished tea cake. By the time of the Song Dynasty, most teas were made in cake form. To brew, a small piece of the tea cake was burned, then crushed into a powder for infusion. When the tea began to boil, salt was added. This process is certainly not how we prepare tea today. Do you think there is a strong connection between Chinese tea and Buddhism? While it's true that you don't have to be a Buddhist to enjoy Chinese tea, one can see how tea might lead to a sense of mindfulness and greater wisdom. It can also help us deal with challenges and the things we see as sufferings in life.